stoji Thomas Erikson, za kojeg ste svi vjerojatno koji sjedite ovdje čuli. Napisao je 2 knjige Okruženi idiotima, Okruženi psihopatima i treća tek biva prevedena zapravo u svijetu, a nadam se da će doći i kod nas. Njegove knjige prodane su više od 1.500.000 primjeraka i konkretno mogu to reći za Hoću knjigu, ne znam za ostale knjižare, ali Okruženi idiotima je najprodavanija knjiga u 2018. godini. Thomas je biheviorist, komunikolog, trener, on zapravo drži motivacijske govore u raznim firmama, trenira razne poslodavce, ali ono što recimo meni zanimljivo što nisam znala je da je Thomas i pisac krimića, nadam se da ćemo ga malo i oko toga pitati kasnije. Ja ne bih više duljila jer ste došli slušati njega, a ne mene, tako da ono što nisam rekla zapravo što sam trebala možda i prije, slobodno se ponudite vodama, ali to možete i nakon, one su u bojama naših idiota i psihopata, tako da se nadam da ste to primijetili. I evo ga, uživajte u svemu što će Thomas večeras pričati.
Okay, thank you. Oh, well, good. So much. It's always good to get some applause before you even have started. Sometimes you don't get any when you're finished. So that was a joke. Okay, so I have no idea what she told you. I hope it was something good. I recognize the color. No, it wasn't any good. Okay. So well, let's see if I can redeem myself now. Well, there we have it. Okruženi idiotima. Okay. Thank you again. But, however, we need to talk about something else to begin with. Namely, this. Okruženi psihopatima. Thing is this. The thing is this is what I call the black book. Let me tell you a story. A couple of years ago, I was driving down the highway back home in Sweden, and at the side of the road there was a car standing there, you know, with the lid open. 2 guys standing, looking down at the engine, you know, scratching their foreheads and so. And I did what every good citizen do. I stopped and I said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "Yes, we really need some help." So I threw out a rope so I can tow them to the service garage. One guy took this rope and he made this back strap of it and he put it through the neck of his friend. Have you been in that situation inside? Anyone has in the air who has seen this in reality? No? Me neither. It confused me a little bit, I have to admit. Because we need to talk about psychopaths. Any psychopaths in the room? And statistically, there are, how many are we in here? 15 people. Statistically, there's one psychopath in this very room. It could be anyone of. Anyway, the thing is this: what is a psychopath? Well, is it some sweet-talking womanizer? Could be. Is it a violent person? Is it some bank robber or some rapist or a serial killer? You know, is this a psychopath? Do you recognize this gentleman over here? Or is it just somebody's uncle? Could be the case as well. Who is this? Well, this is the picture of somebody. Who here can see what this is? Would you like to guess, what can you see on this slide over here? Anyone? No? Okay, at the end of this short talk, I will show you what this actually is. And you will say, aha! Probably. I hope. But who is this uncle that I showed you just now? Who is this uncle? Well, this is Mr. Al Dunlap. And who is that? Well, Al Dunlap is an American. I have some pictures of him here. He's with his dog at his home, actually. Here we can see Al with his wife. Here he is at his home office, maybe, I don't know. And here is some other picture. I have looked at these pictures and analyzed them thoroughly, and I can tell you what I know about Al Dunlap. He likes yellow ties. As you all can see, of course. Of course. But what else? Well, Al was a popular company leader. He turned companies around, you know. He created big values for the stock owners. The last employment he had was at something called the Sunbeam Industries in the United States of America. 12,000 employees. He turned losses into profits and made a lot of people really, really rich. That is what he actually did. The thing with Al here is he actually wrote a book about his, he called it the Mean Business, How I Save Bad Companies and Make Good Companies Great. And as you can see here, if you take a close look at this, he got this blur from some Roger at the Wall Street Journal. That's important. Wall Street Journal. Oh, wow. So he has to be a good guy, right? And you saw how perfect he looked. Somebody sound good. And when we talk about Al here, we need to understand something about the human brain in order to connect these things. And the thing with Al is, he has the same brain, well, not really the same, but he has a similar brain to all of us in this very room. The brain is a really complex mechanism. It contains 100 billion brain cells, or neurons, as scientists like to call them, 100 billion. And they send information between each other in the speed of 300 kilometers an hour. I mentioned this at a local bank back home in Sweden, and some guy said, that's not very fast, my Porsche is faster than that. But the thing is, it's really close to the next neuron, you know. They are, each and every brain cell is connected to 20,000 other brain cells. So you have probably been in that situation when you see something, maybe when you're out driving your car and you see something, and it could be a dog, could be some tree, and all of a sudden you find in your mind, boom, you're completely somewhere else, you know. And you can even think back, oh, for half a second, how did I end up there? Have you been there sometime? You know, how could I connect things so fast, like this? A little quicker than that. Yeah. It's because it's a complex organ, maybe the nature's most complex organ, that is the human brain. Of course, it doesn't look like this. This is actually, I'm so sorry, this is a human brain. Actually, it's actually a human brain. It looks like this. And this is where our behavior comes from. Every behavior that we show to each other is coming from the brain. You don't take decisions using your stomach. I listened to my stomach, or I was listening to my heart, and then I found out, no, you didn't. It was the brain. Very unromantic, I'm so sorry, but everything is from the brain. What happens between your ears, how you wire, that is what it is. Sorry. People don't like me saying this, but the behavior comes from the brain, from the mind. And when it comes to the behavior, we need to talk about social competence, because social competence or social skills are connected with how we behave. You recognize this thing, social competence? Is it good? Should we have that? Is that good? Social competence? Anyone? Is it good to have social competence? Yes. Okay, yes, good. Well, I totally agree with you. Thank you. You know, social competence it works the same thing as with the humor. Everybody thinks they have it. No? You can just ask anybody. Just when you leave this room afterwards, you just grab somebody on the street and say, hey, do you have humor? Do you think the answer will be, no. Not me, really. No, sorry. My brother's got some, but I didn't. You know, I'm struggling through life. No, everybody thinks, some people think they're funny. So, but what is social competence? Well, social competence is connected to how we act and how we behave towards each other, right? It's about communication. I define it like this, to understand how your behavior affects other people's behavior. That is what social competence is, to understand how you affect other people. As an example, I affect you while I stand here waving my arms, trying to look smart. I affect you. You're sitting there, face towards me, politely listening, taking good notes, of course. Did you forget your notebooks, dear friends? Oh, it's going to be a quiz afterwards. Big prizes, lots of money in there. Too bad. Okay. Anyway, but social competence, it's important because we need it in order to interact. So, the goal for today is to decrease the number of idiots in our surroundings. Okay? Is that good? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And one additional thing, to protect ourselves. That is also the goal, and I will lead you to it. Why do some people make us feel like this? You've been in those meetings, right? Yes. You sit down, you listen, and sometimes you feel you are actually surrounded. I heard you're surrounded by idiots. So that is interesting. And what's so fascinating about this is some people are more surrounded by idiots than others. Interesting. Some people are some sort of idiot magnets, you know, to draw weirdness or wackers to themselves. Why is that? I don't know. We have met them. Stay away from those people. That's scary business, you know. Make sure you don't find the idiot in the mirror. It happened to me once. So, but what I do for a living is working with social competence. That is what I actually do as a management consultant. And social competence is based on one thing and one thing only, and that is self-awareness. If you should understand how your behavior affects other people, then you need to understand your behaviors. You actually need self-awareness. You need to learn more about yourself. Sounds logical, right? But the thing is this, what is self-awareness? Well, to see yourself really clear, to understand who you are, but maybe mostly important, what does everybody else see? When you meet other people, when you interact with other people, what do they see? Do they see the same thing as you? When you look yourself into the mirror, do I see the same thing as you do? Don't be sure about it. If you enter your job Monday morning and you think you are a lion, for instance, and we see a little tiny kitten, what will we do? We will take you up, put you on our lap and say, oh, look at this, so sweet, so cute. Doesn't matter, you feel like, I'm a lion, don't do this to me, you know. Ow. You know, I'm a lion. And more important, if you are a lion but you think you're a kitten, ooh, that can be dangerous. Can I sit in your lap? Don't think so. Sorry. Okay, so we need to understand what other people do. I was actually in this Polish radio station a couple of years ago. And this lady reporter asked me, Mr. Erikson, can we talk about self-awareness? And I said, of course, this is my topic. Let's get started. And she said, okay, so how is our self-awareness today? And I started to talk. And she said, no, this is radio. You use too many words. This is radio. Quick sound bite. I said, how many words? You get one. True story. Okay, one word. Okay, I think I have it, I said. So she said, okay, so Mr. Erikson, how is our self-awareness today? And I said, good. And she looked at me and said, this doesn't work at all. You have to do something else. Well, what can you help me? Okay, you get 2 words. 2 words. Okay, I have it, I said. So, Mr. Eriksson, how is our self-awareness today? And I said, not good. True story. And she looked at me and said, this is boring. This doesn't work. I see you are not very comfortable with this sort of media, she said. We give you the full word budget. We'll give you 3 words, but that's it. So, how about our self-awareness? And I said, not good enough, which I think is the most close to the truth, actually. Of course, there are things we know about each other, but there are many things that we don't know. The problem with this is other people seem to have full control of these things. Very, very fascinating. What I do to make people more self-aware is use the system described in Surrounded by Idiots. The DISC profile, I didn't invent it. I cannot take credit for the method itself. I just put it in the book. It's based on task orientation, people orientation, extroversion, versus introversion. And then we put 4 colors in it. Why did we do that? Well, that's pedagogical reasons. It's easier to understand red and yellow behavior than an high D over I with a low C. Or an ENTJ personality. Oh, sorry, INTJ, you know, ITPK, no, that's not the case. No, red and yellow, there it is. So, have you seen this before, anyone? I'm not going with a hat, but have you been in contact with it?
Yes.
No. Okay. I'll give you a couple of views so you just know what it is about. Red behavior, that is competitive people, very demanding, very goal-oriented, they like to achieve results, you know, and they're really quick thinkers, or actually thought-action. They are really a short line between thought and action. There is no time at all. Thought, bam, and there. My wife is super duper red. She is so red. How do I know this? Yeah, well. How do I know she's red? Well, you know, she has left the city before I left the chair. I think I'm fast, but she's, you know, bam, thought, action, bam, bam. And then I start talking, should we do this, and should we do that? And then she looks at me and says, so many words. So many words. What do you want from me, you know? That's what red people are like. What do you need from me? Spit it out and leave the room. Bam, easy peasy. Maybe not the most charming trait. Maybe not, I don't know. Except for my wife, she's of course always charming. Obviously, you know. She might be listening, I don't know. But seriously, you know, they get things done, bam, bam, bam. And we hope we have met those kind of people, right? They get an idea and they step up and then they do it, and then sometimes they fall back and they have to do it again and rethink, but they are constantly in action. You have seen those people, right? Sitting still, not for me. No, 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 no. That's boring, boring. That's nothing, something else. So, and sometimes their ambition is so strong that they are leaving everybody else behind, actually. You have to love them. Yes. Yellow people are sort of different. Yellow people are more open-minded, positive thinkers, very creative. They see the sun is shining, oh yes! And you can say, well, it's actually raining, as you can see. No, 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 but the sun is always shining. You know, the life should be easy going and singing and la 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 la. Everybody should be fast. I love you. Who are you? Let me tell you about me. You know. Oh, I have this funny story about me and my life, and I'm sure you would like to hear it. Blah blah blah. They can never be quiet. No, they are breathing inwards and talking at the same time. It's a special technique. You have seen it also, but you have to love them too, right? And they are so positive, you know, and very as you can see. It doesn't say, but they are very creative. I mean, a lot of people are creative. These guys, whoa, you know, some of them haven't touched the ground since the early 90s. No, you can sit there at your desk, for instance, or however you are working, and you're trying to solve a problem. You have it there. I can't. This problem here, I can't get solved. Find some really yellow girl or lady or man or whatever and say, hey, how would you solve my problem? And they would do, blah, 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 and there it is. And you would say, wow. Wow, how did you do that? I don't know. But it is brilliant, isn't it? Yes, can you write it down on a piece? But no. Documentation, that is not my color, no. But now I get this imaginary idea, you know, and off they go. You have to know. Right. Do you know any yellow people?
I am the yellow people.
Yes, you are. That is so true. Because only yellow people say things like that.
Yellow.
Completely yellow. Well, we love you, if you didn't know. So, it is the best, yes. Okay. Is it okay to talk about green people? Right, Kiri? Okay, just quickly go to the green side. Because green people, now we are on the introvert side. So they are more calm, more silent, and they are good listeners. They actually hear what you say. And you know what? They remember what you have said. Especially if it was something bad. And especially if it was something bad about the green person. Now this will be filed forever, ever and ever. They never forget this kind of, you know, backstabbings. Looking at me like he's saying something about my nice sweater. I don't trust you anymore. Very caring, very sharing, you know, but they don't like conflict. So if you ask a green person, are you coming for vacation next Saturday? And they don't want to go, they would say something like, I was no. You know, what was that? Well, you know, so they go under the radar a little bit. Instead of saying, no, I don't want to be with you, they say, no. You have to give them time, you know, to think and rethink and think it over, maybe, and think some more, and you know, don't stress them. Take it easy, you know. And there's something that they have a challenge with a certain thing called well, the challenge is a problem. Changes. Changes. Who needs changes, right? Everything was working brilliantly. Well, maybe it didn't work at all, but at least we know what it was, right? Now this process, this working method, this new system here, I mean, we have only used this since, what, 1998? Now they're going to tear it up and throw it out. Already, I've just gotten into this, you know. Please let me keep it. So they sit down, you know, and it doesn't move. They do this small movements, you know. Sit down and all, you know. Some people say, you know, they are moving away. Should we not? Shut up. So much rubbish talked here, you know. So I think it's burning on it. I am not sure. Sit down, you know. Don't nobody do nothing, because let's stay here and see what happens. Let's see. That's the green trait. You have to love them because they love you. They love other people even more than they love themselves sometimes. Some people misuse it. That's right. And then to end with the blue character, the analyst, the engineer, the accountant, the lawyer, who looks for details and facts and details and going deep into things to find what? The details. Details, details, details. You know, how many positions are there in Excel? Anybody here who works with Excel? Anyone? Hands in the air, Excel, anyone? You know what it is? Yeah. You know what it is? Excel, the world's biggest computer program, probably. It is. Okay, I find my colleague at her desk, this is a couple of years ago. I find my colleague at the desk, at the office, with her finger on her computer, like this. She just sits there. And I see this from, I sit over where you sit. And I said, this looks interesting. So I said to myself, well, I should stroll over and see what's happening here. So I went over to her desk with a cup of coffee and I said, so, hi. What are you doing this week? You know, I am examining how many positions there are in Excel. This is a true story, unfortunately. So she's, you know, scrolling down. Blah, blah, blah. I said, can't you Google that? No. This is how you actually do it. This is the correct method. Right? This is how it has to be done. I said, but have you tried Control End? No. That's cheating. This is how it has to be done. This is the best way. You have to check it by yourself. Seeing is believing. Right? I mean, 1,499,500. Now you know. Question: what are you going to do with this information? It's a really big sheet. Yeah, but this is interesting, she said, and I said, well, it could be. Who knows? That's a blue behavior, going to the bottom with everything. Do you know any blue people?
Yes.
Yes. That's a recognition. Yes, I do. I know who it is. Okay. So the point is this: we all have some parts of every color within us. Usually, we can be wherever in this chart, and nothing is good, nothing is bad. There's just different behaviors. That is what it is, right? I can't tell you should be more green or less yellow, or that is not the point. The point is to understand differences. Some people say to me, well, Thomas, you shouldn't label people as putting names and colors. That's bad. But they haven't understand or listen. The point is this: we all label each other all the time. You know, some people live in Zagreb, some live in Dubrovnik. You know, different kinds of, you know, same thing in Sweden. Some live in Stockholm, some live in Gothenburg. You know, and they are not like us. So we do this all the time. But the challenge is not to value things and say this is good and that is bad. That is the challenge. So don't do that. Promise? Say yes. Yes. So, some people tell me, okay, Thomas, I understand this is good. Yeah, I get it. Colors, extroversion, and so on. But you know, I have a job to do. I don't have time for this. Do we have any quick fixes? I have one. Would you like to see a quick fix? Emails. I mean, here you can find clues. I mean, can you see what it says there? I mean, there's a red bar up there. I mean, what else is there to say? Be there. Easy. Right? Actually, we can say a lot of things. We can speak freely or write freely, you know, la 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 la, as you do when you email people or text people. It's like this is, you know, this is like getting a text message from my sister. It's 5 smartphones long, you know, and I'm scrolling looking for some interesting, you know. I can't read it, so I usually say okay. She hates okay. Okay, what? Comes another short story. Now you should pay more attention. La 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 la, you know, and off you go. So, but the information that you look for is in there, so you have to fill through all of it. You have no choice. It could be there also. Yeah, could be there. It's been known to happen. They forget things because details, you know, who cares for details? We're yellow people. We are funny. And the green email is another tone, a specific kind of sense of it, and also the yellow. The blue email can also be rather long, but it's very different wording in it compared to the yellow one. And as you can see, the attachments are actually there. I mean, this is not neuroscience, right? It is attach, connect, click. No. Very easy, very easy. So, okay. So what has this to do with Al Dunlap, you might think? What has this to do with Al Dunlap? Well, if you look at psychopathy, they are usually very charming to begin with. They are usually grandiose, meaning, I am here now, I will save you because I am your savior and the Messiah and everything in one. You know, right? Here I am and I am the best at everything. They are really impulsive, they need mental kicks, they take no responsibility, they show no empathy whatsoever. They don't care about you at all. Even if they say they love you, they don't, because psychopaths do not love. They love themselves because they are all narcissists. But they cannot love like we think. We know who we love, right? This is a totally different thing. They can act in a way, but they are promiscuous, meaning, well, you know what that means? They have no regrets. They lie even when they don't have to lie. They lie just for the sake of lying. It's fun to see, can I lie to you and make you believe me? Well, let's try it. Doesn't matter, you have no connection to reality. What did you have for lunch? Well, fish, even if it was a steak. Doesn't matter, can I make you believe me? Maybe, that's a fun game to play, right? That's a psychopathic play. And they are parasites, economical parasites. Most of all, they are manipulators. That is what they are most of. Some people might ask, how many are there? I was making jokes saying there might be one in this room. But the thing is this, if you look in the jails, about 25% of people in jail are clinical psychopaths. This we know, based on real research. I'm not making it up, you can check the book for everything there. The higher up you come in the hierarchy, the more psychopathy you actually will see. This is not just some tabloid thing, it is actually based on real science. This is very, very scary because psychopaths are drawn to power and to be into the spotlight, you know, and to make money. So they rise like sour cream in the coffee, you know. So how about the public? Us? Well, depending on who you're asking, between 2 to 4% of the population are clinical psychopaths. How many citizens? How many inhabitants in Croatia? 4 million. That would make 80,000 psychopaths just here. That, if you go for lower, to 2%, that is, my friends, a lot of people. That is everybody in the whole Zagreb. Not saying everybody in Zagreb is a psychopath. I didn't say that. Don't write it down. Don't read this, right? You know what I mean. But the thing is this. Theoretically, one of you is a psychopath. I don't know you, so who knows? How do you become a psychopath? Can you go to school and learn some things? Well, some people claim there is something with the DNA. Well, is it bad childhood? My father beat me up every Sunday morning. Is it bad genes, or is it something in my brain. Am I born with a certain brain damage? Which is interesting, because back to the brain. Because the brain here is actually the clue. The brain is the clue. If you do brain scan, you can find interesting things. And now I'm going to say something to you that might be a bit disturbing. This you might not like. But here is a specific study made. They did brain scans on children only 5 months old. They had them to look at face or at the ball. Some children most looked at the face and others looked at the ball. Mostly. 3 years after, the ones that looked at the ball showed less emotional traits than the other ones. They were actually much more cold when it came to understanding emotions and showing emotions. And when they followed them up in life, they could see things they didn't like, the researchers, so they stopped the study because the results were too disturbing, too annoying actually. This is true, this is scary because psychopaths, my friends, are born. It's very difficult to imagine a child as a psychopath, but a psychopath isn't made, he's born. It's usually a man. It could be a woman, but more men than women are psychopaths. We don't know why that is. It's just statistics. But the brain is the clue. Here you can see an MRI scan, or brain scan. As you can see here, what we can see here is a view of the amygdala, where the personality and the empathy center in the brain is. This is where people feel regrets and remorse and so on. As you can see here, there are, we can't really see it, the colors doesn't matter, but here they are lacking something. Something is missing, some parts of the brain is physically not there. That's why the scientists now know that psychopathy is probably created in the same moment as the fetus is created. But there's something that's happening. We don't know why. There's always been psychopaths in the society, all the way through the centuries, back in time, always, everywhere. Let's say 2% of the population. They did this test in the United Kingdom in the 60s. They tested people with electrical shocks. They strapped them and said, we will give you money if we can give you an electrical shock in your brain. And the prisoner said, okay. This is what's looking in the brain. A normal person would look like this, when he did this MRI scan. And then they got the first shock, bam! And it felt really, this was really strong, like this. And so they said to the normal prisoners that was not psychopaths, would you like another one? And that happens like this. No, no, hell no, I don't want another, electrical shock. Please don't. Well, you have signed your papers, so we have to give you one. Oh no, please, it's gonna hurt. Bam! And this is what happened. And then they did the same thing with the psychopaths. And they said, here's the first one. Bam! Did it hurt? Oh yes, like hell. Would you like another one? Okay. Nothing really happened, which is kind of weird, because they don't react to threats like we do. They would just, okay. Okay, let's try it, see what happens. They are not scared of anything, which makes them dangerous to us. How about you? Would you like one? No. So what I did when I handed out the rope, that was when I wrote the book, the white book. And when I learned some people made backstraps of it, I had to write this book. I had to tell people how to protect us, because people emailed me and said, okay, good system, 4 colors. Now, tell me, how can I, by this system, use other people the most? And I said to myself, wow, this is very disturbing, right? How can we use other people? That is not my point. The point is to ease up the communication. Oh yes, there it is. Oh, I have it there also, right? So I put this down. Because some people will always misuse any guidance that they have. Some people are just not trustworthy. We need to understand that they are out there. I'm not trying to scare you, because we shouldn't be scared, but we should be aware that everybody is not friendly and open-minded like we are. It's just the way it is. So how is it all connected? What about Mr. Al Dunlap here? What about him? Well, you know, this is one picture of him. Do you see him properly? This is another picture of Mr. Al Dunlap. And here's another picture, and here we can see the yellow tie, right? Okay? And here's another picture. In a TV show, somebody asked him, why did you do what you did? Because what did he actually do? Well, look at this face. Who's the lunatic in this picture, right? It's very easy to think it's the guy to the left. But this is Mr. John Ronson. He's an author and a journalist from UK. And he has interviewed Al Dunlap because he knew what he had done. Mr. Al Dunlap here, he did what I mentioned before. He turned companies around and made a lot of money and so on. But how did he do it? Well, he fired a lot of people. He crushed families. He personally fired people if he could. He went out to you know, the factories and said, you're fired, and you're fired, I don't like your face, you're fired, you're fired. And he really felt good about it. And he stole money from the company. He let his dog live in a luxury suite at the hotel at the cost of 1 month's salary for a normal worker. One night, the dog, right? Is that okay? Of course it isn't okay. That's just plain stupid. Or is it stupid? Or is it just a parasite behavior? That is actually what it is. Big scandals, bonuses. And if we look at these pictures, can you see the lion in the background? You can see there's a knight there to the right. And John Ronson was visiting Al Dunlap in his home. He had a big, luxurious mansion somewhere in the Midwest. And what he saw was photographs, paintings, statues, sculptures, all showing these kind of animals. And he asked Al, why is this? Why only predators? And Al said, and this is true because it is in the book, he said, well, I like these predators because they see something they want and they take it, just like me. That is what I do. Of course, this is not the picture he's showing people, this is usually what he shows us. So, what should we look for? We need to look for patterns. John Ronson said to Mr. Al Dunlap, are you a psychopath? And he went through the whole list and Al said, yeah, I think so. But I think it's a good thing because I am a winner. True story. It's in another book, so I used the example here. He wrote this book. There was another book written called The Chainsaw Dunlap, How He Killed the Whole Industry. You know? That's sold better than the first one. So is it only industrial leaders? No, the problem is much, much bigger. I would like to wrap everything up with this example. This, is he a friend or a foe? Yes. Normal guy, psychopath, manipulator, whatever, what do you think? You can see the yellow tie, right? This is okay. Orange. Wrong color, right, or right color. Mr. Kevin Dutton here, he's a psychologist, he's a scientist and an author. He made this behavioral assessment on psychopaths a couple of years ago in 2016. He looked through every American president throughout the whole history. This was during the presidential election when these people were running for presidency. They both scored really high. But who scored the highest? She did, actually. Actually, she did, which is sort of strange, right? And then he said, the most psychopathic president in the whole history of the United States of America, would anybody like to guess who it is?
Kennedy.
Higher.
Kennedy.
Trump? No, not Trump.
No.
Nixon? No.
Bush. Kennedy.
Bush. Kennedy. You know, a womanizer, a risk taker, a constant liar, charming, witty, you know. This is Kevin Dutton's word, this is not Thomas Erikson's word. Number 2, the other Clinton, or well, maybe the first Clinton. This is published in a psychological magazine in the United States, so therefore I dare to quote it. The study ends with these words, as it was when Mr. Obama was leaving the office. Mr. Dutton has not published anything on the sitting president. I'm not saying anything. He has been called the black candy. I don't know. I don't know. Back to this. So what is it? Anyone? Can you see what it is? I'm going to show you what it is, and when you have seen it, you will never forget it. Are you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Here it is. Ooh, it's a snake. Yes, I know. I know. But the thing is this, now you have seen it. Let's go back. Okay, and let's go back to the snake. There it is, and now you can all see the head, right? You can see the head. Same thing when you see a snake in the woods. If there is a snake head, there's probably a snake coming immediately behind it, right? It's the same thing with psychopathy. When you learn to see the traits, when you see the pattern, you won't forget it, but you need to look for it by using, for example, a checklist, or read a book, or go to a lecture, or read another book, or another book. There are so much things to learn out there, actually. There it is. Thank you for listening.
Moje ime je Marija Pedešić, ja sam prevoditeljica koja je prevela obje knjige, Okruženi idiotima i psihopatima. Ja ću vrlo kratko postaviti svojim Eriksonu par pitanja, neću puno duljiti, teško je reći nešto zanimljivo nakon ovog zabavnog govornika. Samo par pitanja, a onda može publika, ako nekoga bude što zanima. Okay, so to start with, I would ask you, could you explain the difference between psychopaths and people with psychopathic traits? What's the clear sign to distinguish them? When to know we should just run away, and when to know maybe we can just accept that person?
Okay, so psychopathic traits versus a true psychopath. Well, referring to the checklist that I mentioned in the book, which is from David Hare, which is a Canadian specialist. He's probably forgotten more about psychopathy that we ever can learn about it. He's sort of the main guy within this industry, and according to his checklist, you can score up till 40 points. You have 20 bullet points, as I mentioned before, and the more you can tick off the list, the more often. If you show it never, sometimes, or many times, then you can get more and more and more points. We all would score something on the list. You would get some points. I have lied. Some of you have lied. It's been known to happen. Probably white lies, but lying is a psychopathic trait. To manipulate people. If my mother calls me and says, "Can you come over?" I would say, "Well, I was sort of busy." You know, that wasn't very good. You know, that's sort of a lie, right? So we all will score some points, and we all are somewhat narcissistic. Now, with this ego-centered world that we are living in right now, with social media, pictures and selfies and so on. But the thing is this, based on how high you reach on the scale, all these are psychopathic traits. If you reach level 25, then you're clinically called a psychopath. In the UK, in the US, it's 30 points, which is interesting. It's the same list. Not culture-wise, we need to understand what that means. But if you score, let's say 25, some say even at 15, everybody else would run away because this person might be toxic to you. But you don't know. Nobody in this room, including me, have the right education to put the analysis. But if it doesn't feel okay, it isn't okay. If you are in a relationship at work or at home, or could be one of your siblings or anything, if it doesn't feel good, it isn't good. Then you have to take a step back and view it and see what is happening here, what is wrong here. And the only thing you can do is walk away. You can never change it.
So you think that's the only reaction we can have to a psychopath? Just go away, no reason with them?
Just walk away, because the reasoning with a psychopath, that's totally pointless. You can reason, and they can say, "Oh yes, I will change, I will be much more friendly." They might be that for a while. But what you have to do with psychopaths is comparing their words with their actions. This is crucial in the process, because they will always say what looks right and what sounds right. But take a look at what they actually do. I will come home at 10 o'clock. I will not meet this woman again. I will, you know, take the dish and everything, but what do they actually do? That is what you have to look at. Forget about the words. Put, you know, the headphones on, and then see what their actions are. That's the only thing you can do. And walk away. You cannot change it. I mean, as I mentioned, they are not crazy. They are not. It's not a mental disorder. It's a personality disorder. It's in their brain. You can't change the brains. It's impossible. You have to walk away. Is it easy?
How many psychopaths did you meet in your life? What did you say?
I have, at a very close range, met 3. I was the victim of very severe stalking a couple of years ago from this female psychopath who did things that the police were fascinated by. They said, this is impressive, all the lies, all the things, and she actually talks like she believes what she said. We know she's lying, but we know because we have the proofs here. But she was, that was scary. I lost 12 kilos in 1 month. What else do you need to know? I was planning on doing really bad stuff to myself because I thought she was going to sort of kill me, but I survived. But and then a woman really close to me has been living with a psychopath for 16 years, and he's still harassing her and me because I know her. He's chasing us on social media and hating us and you know, writing long stories and blogging about us, you know, making whatever up that he likes. Nobody can stop because the police is educating him in where the law stands here. So, and he's learning, he's developing all the time, evolving in his things. And that's another one of that longer story. So I've seen it from close range.
Do you think as a famous writer, as a famous public person, you are more a target for psychopaths?
When it comes to stalking, well, after publishing Surrounded by Psychopaths in Sweden, thousands of people have emailed me and told me stories about this and that. I think I live with a psychopath, I think I have kids with a psychopath, what should I do? You know, a lot of stories. And I'm pretty sure some psychopaths have contacted me. I read your book, and the questions are so weird. It's hard to put words on it. Strange questions, you know. Okay, I'm asking for a friend, but let's say how would a psychopath, you know, hide himself? Asking for a friend, you know. How would he do not to look like a psychopath? Can you help me? I usually say, oh, hey, no. This. I'm not going to teach you that actually. So, but it happens. A lot of strange people out there. 2%. Even if it's 1%, it's 1% too much. Right? Definitely.
If you could tell us a little bit more about the colors and the system of colors and how do you use it in your everyday life? Can you say it's a useful tool for you personally?
It is. As I mentioned, the red character here. These are the quick people. They usually take decisions and they make up their mind really fast. Bam, bam, bam. They are really quick thinkers. I went through it a little bit. And what happens in an organization is usually this. A yellow person who is creative come up with this idea. Oh, I had this brilliant idea. Should we do this? Should we do that? You know, and the red guy or girl, could be a woman, doesn't matter, say, yeah, right, go. And they leave all the job to the green people. Because there's mostly green people. Close to between 45 and 50% of the population is green. And the blue people will check it up and see, did this go as planned? You know? That's what usually happens. And when he's done with his work, he has forgotten about it because he has invented something completely different. What that my project of? I don't know, but I had this new brilliant idea, you know. I use it in the corporate world. I train the leaders, managers in using these things because it's not about, I mean, when the intention is to understand each other better, that is good. That's about adaptation. Manipulation is when the intention is to use other people and misuse the system. So there's a difference. Some people say, but using the colors, that is manipulation. No, it isn't. It depends on what your intention is. Right? If you have a good intention, you need to know and you need to understand yourself. That's good.
So would you say that when you meet someone, you automatically give him our colors? Or determine his or her colors?
Do I read everybody I meet? Is that the question? Could be. But it's like, you speak English. If you see two guys sitting over there speaking English, could you then not understand them? You will understand it because you know the second language. It's just the way it is, right? And the thing is this. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I get so carried away. For me, it's like a secondary language. For me, it's easy to see because I trained myself. I mean, I've done this for more than 20 years. And you can train yourself too. And some people are easier to grasp. Yellow people are easy to recognize. Oh, look at the smile. Oh, yes. Oh, no. Are you talking about me now? No, she feels good. Would you like to stand up and wave?
But you said that we are a mix of all these colors.
We all can show any color in our behavior, but usually two colors dominate your behavior. Two colors is what the other people can see, what your surroundings can sort of perceive. And that could be red and yellow or yellow and green, and nothing right or wrong, just different combinations. It could be yellow and blue, which is totally opposite, but it can happen. But I see it in a couple of minutes. I usually know. Yes.
Is there a test we can?
Yes, there is an analysis. This is a behavioral assessment. It costs money, but the algorithm is complicated. It's a lot of research done for decades. So it's rather exact, I would say. You would recognize yourself up to 85–90%, I would say.
Could you tell us a bit about your consulting business, of the working with managers and the importance of good leadership?
Well, now you're actually in my very specific field. Well, I train leaders, I train managers to be good leaders. Management and leadership is totally different things, Management is your position, you're a manager. This is what you are. Leading is what you do. The manager is the one you have to follow. The boss, you have to follow her or him. The leader you want to follow, totally different things, right? Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes, we talk a lot about this in Sweden. I know the different cultures, and in Sweden we have an open discussion of what is good leadership. Somewhere in the world, someplace in the world, you can still stand and yell at your employees and they have to follow you. Less and less places accept this anymore, actually. Usually people would like to be treated in a more modern way, and that is what I try to do, to make leaders out of the managers. So I meet management teams. I only work with top management because the time is limited. So I work with the CEO and downwards, or the chairman of the board, because water is always pouring downwards. There's no need to treat the middle management in a certain way if the top management do something completely different. That's just a waste of time and money. I'm the only one that wins from this, so that's stupid. Don't try me for that.
So you think leadership is important for regular workers and the enjoyment in the job?
No, it's crucial. With bad leadership, nothing good can come out of the organization. Doesn't matter what you do for a living, where you work. Bad leaders create bad employees, bad co-workers. With the wrong manager, you can never succeed fully. With the right one, there are no limits what you actually can achieve at your job. That is my personal opinion. I understand.
Could you tell us a bit about your career trajectory before this? You worked as a banker for a long time, and then you started writing, first fiction, and then non-fiction.
Okay, yes, well, I was an ex-banker. I got my first managing position when I was 24. Total disaster, a disgrace. I was so bad. Terrible. They shouldn't have brought me in there. Actually, after 1 year, I went to my boss's boss and said, take me away. I don't know what I'm doing. He said, you have to stay good for a while because your boss is even worse. He's not even here. So I was called boom. But then I started to write when I was expecting my first child. At the age of 24, I started to write. I was this kind of guy who has been writing when I was young, as a teenager, trying to put a book together, never managed. And when we were expecting the first child, I went home every afternoon writing, because when the baby would come, I would have no time, which was true. But nobody wanted my stories. I have written 10 novels, 10 books, Took me 20 years to be published. I am very persistent. That is one of my blue traits, because this is one of my colors are, these are my colors. Result and detail. Accelerator, brakes, very tricky, not very easy. And then I have, as I've shown you here, a lot of yellow, but no green at all. I'm so sorry. I'm probably to every green person in this. So 20 years, struggling, and then finally I was writing about this management consultant, you know, writing about he was helping the police like some sort of profiler, using a system based on 4 colors. What do you know? Ha! You know, I took myself, put it in a book, and they said, okay, we can sell this. Nobody bought it. Nobody would like to read the book. They say, nice stories, but you know, the tool in the books the guy is using, where can we learn more about this? And I said, I have no idea. After getting this question, I think 500 times, I said to myself, let's write a book about that. That was surrounded by idiots. And that, boom, everything changed. Here I am. Short story, short person. That is actually what happened.
Did the writing become easier or harder when you became successful?
Yeah, it's the same. It's a passion. It's a fever. It's a sort of mental disorder. I mean, to be a writer, that's just. If you can make a living in any other way, do that instead. Because too much work. You writing a book takes me 1,000 hours, 1,500 hours perhaps. I have no idea if nobody will read it or if I will make any money from it or anything. It's just a lot of hours just in the waste. Nobody knows. It's a mystery. But still, I have to do it.
Do you feel a burden of expectations?
No, not really. I am my biggest critique. The most, I can criticize myself more than anybody else. So, no, not a burden.
Maybe not now because of the audience, if someone has a question.
Yes, I think someone has. Yes, questions? Two children. Yeah. Girl 24, guy 27. So, start early.
So you do seminars and trainings with the managers and CEOs. How many psychopaths are among them? And what to do if your boss is a psychopath?
Well, as I mentioned on the slideshow here, when it comes to top management, and then I have to say top management because they are looking for the true power, the top management power. And there we have 10%. 1 out of 10 is probably so much a psychopath, and that is amongst businesses, in church. Actually, yes, I'm not kidding. In the military, in politics, it's the same in every field. The psychopaths you can find at the top. That's why my personal opinion is that's why the world looks as it does. What can you do if your boss is a psychopath? Well, absolutely nothing.
Just quit.
Quit your job. Doesn't matter if it's your dream career. This is the best thing ever. No, it isn't. If your manager is a psychopath, you have to walk away. You can never change her or him. Impossible. Don't even try because they are 10 steps ahead of you. That is just the way it is. I'm so sorry. There are no solutions here. You have to change the job. Yes, sir.
You say walk away from psychopath. It's easy if it is your boss. But what if you see a psychopathic behavior in your child? You can walk away from the child.
No, you can't. That is, if you see your child and you understand he or she shows psychopathic traits. Well, as a father, I cannot imagine a worse nightmare than that. But every year this happens to a lot of people in the world. They understand there's something wrong with the kid. And they can understand what it is. What can you do? Of course, you love the child. But you know, this person will be dangerous in 10 years' time. What do you do? I don't know, to be honest. You cannot put them away. They haven't committed any crime. Being an a-hole isn't illegal. You know, you can be just as, you know, how unpleasant to anybody you want. The only thing you can do is to try to... There are some new research that says if you treat the psychopathic child with much love and respect, and you give them everything you can when it comes to warmth and kindness, you can make it better, tone it down a bit. But then again, that's how you should treat every child, with love and respect, and boosting them and saying that you love them and they can be whatever they want in life and so on. That's what we all should do with our kids. So the problem is unsolvable, but you can take it down a little bit by really interacting with this kid. But if it's there, it's there. I mean, even serial killers was kids. Sound like
Can they learn empathy?
Can they learn
empathy?
Can psychopaths learn empathy? No. They cannot feel things because of the damages in their amygdala.
I mean, if you see those traits in your child, can you try to learn the child's empathy and social competence?
No. Well, they have social competence because they know how to interact with other people. That's why they are so big. But you cannot give them empathy because empathy is an emotion, and they have damages in their emotional center of the brains. They can act empathetic. They say, "Oh, I feel strongly with you. I see that you are suffering. Oh, I'm so sorry." But what they have in the back of their head is a hidden agenda. How can I use this? These days they don't put psychopaths in therapy anymore, because they get worse by this. If you put them in therapy, they will learn even more ways to manipulate us. So try to put them behind bars instead of just leave them. There are no solutions to the problem. So,
is there a possible kind of connection between red people and the psychopaths?
That's a really common question. Is there a connection between red behavior and psychopathic behavior? Well, of course there is, but we cannot see psychopathy using the colors. That is not the problem. But the thing is let's say that your manager is red, your boss is red. He yells at you at 11 o'clock, and blah, 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 and then at 12 o'clock he says, "Would you like to come with me for lunch?" And you would think, this is weird. That's a psychopath, goddamn psychopath. Now that's red behavior because he's finished with that. He has complained and shouted, and then I'm done with that. I still like you. I didn't like what you did or didn't do, but I like you. But some people say that they are the psychopaths. Some people say the yellow people are the psychopaths because yellow behavior is a little bit manipulative because everything they say sounds terrific. "Oh, I love you so much, but I've forgotten your name, to be honest. Who are you anyway?" Right? And then they charm themselves throughout the way. Some people say green people are the manipulators because they say yes, but they mean no. Right? They lie to me straight in my face. And some people say this cold-hearted, detail-oriented person who doesn't show any emotions, that has to be a psychopath. Probably it's the silent ones you had to look out for, right? Serial killers. But that is just another perspective. We cannot put the colors on the psychopaths. They can act like any kind. Good questions.
What is the difference between psychopath and narcissist?
Sorry?
Difference between psychopath and narcissist.
What's the difference between a psychopath and a narcissist? Well, all psychopaths are narcissists, meaning total egocentric behavior. It's all about me, 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 me. Not all narcissists are psychopaths. Take, for instance, I mentioned the T word just before. I met two Americans and I asked them, "How about your, guy at the top?" And I said, "Do you mean the T word? Are you using the Trump word here?" That's what they meant. We are so sorry. We were so sorry. And he scored high on the psychopathy list. I don't think it's a psychopath. I think it's a narcissist. I mean, the Twitter thing, me, and I am right all the time. Narcissistic behavior is a little less worse, less bad, I would say, than the psychopath. Psychopaths does even more bad stuff. Like they are sometimes criminal and so on. Narcissists doesn't have to be that. They are just really, really toxic to all of us, actually. I would rather live with a narcissist than with a psychopath. I prefer my wife still. Yes, you had a question.
Before you started talking, our host mentioned that you write crime novels too. Can you tell us more about that? How many have you written?
Oh, the crime novels thing. Well, nobody asks for them anymore. Everybody's like, "Do you have another Okrużeni book?" And I said, well, I might have one. Well, I have published 6 thrillers, 2 together with my wife. She's an author too, actually. You didn't know. But the thing is, I don't write thrillers now because I don't have the time, and everything I do has to be good, right? And I have to actually reach 100%, and right now there is no time for that. So right now it's, you know, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? The first one is actually sold in 790. The first 2 or 3. Nobody knows what's just forget. Somebody that's something. What was that? No. Sir, yes.
Do you think that the society would benefit from the learning from those 2 books if they are taught by classes at universities or schools?
You could say that a bit louder, please.
Do you think that society or other people that are not psychopaths would benefit if they are taught how to detect that at schools, at universities?
At universities, well, would universities would it be good for them to know about psychopathy? For example, by this book or by another book. There's a lot of books about psychopathy, I don't know. Well, of course. I met once this guy at the university in Sweden, at Stockholm University, who was a really, really high-scoring psychopath. He made a lot of women pregnant. He stole money from the university. He almost made the headmaster put him in prison because he pointed all the evidence towards his manager. That was a really, I described it in the book actually. And this guy, I met him, he looked at me like this. What are my colors? And I said, I don't know, if I can't tell you. Okay, you should know that. His eyes was scary still when I can grow up with. But of course, in all parts of the society, we benefit from understanding these things. We can still not do so much about it, but again, if you have a psychopath in a university or a young person or somebody who is teaching other people, of course you have to do something. If you are the manager and one of your employees is a psychopath, kick him out. You can show no mercy here. Sorry, you cannot do that. These are predators. We have to understand this. Some people tell me, but Thomas, aren't you a little bit harsh on psychopaths? Shouldn't we feel sorry about them? No. Hell no, we shouldn't, because, sorry, technical terms, sorry about that. But, I mean, let's say that you leave your baby and as a babysitter you pick a wolf. And then the wolf eats your child. Would you feel sorry for the wolf? No, you wouldn't. Is there a difference? No, it isn't. I'm sorry, it's the same thing. Totally. The wolf doesn't care. If it's a baby or a sheep, I need to eat. So I would eat. I'm a predator. That is what it is. And we need to understand this. Even though it's, I know what it sounds like when I say this, but it's still as it is. So, you don't have to look over your shoulder, but usually people are not psychopaths. 98% isn't so. I think we do. Right?
The nice one and the psychopath.
The charming ones you should pay attention to, you know? That is true. Yes.
Is this your first time in Croatia?
This is my first time here, yes. That is true. I wish I could have stayed longer, but I have to leave early tomorrow. So, I think I will come back.
Do we have more psychopaths than other countries?
I don't think. I think you have less.
Yes, I think also.
I think so. Yes. Everybody here has been really, really friendly and welcoming. So I haven't met any psychopaths today. I'm sorry. You need a couple of those. What was that?
I said you have to read the newspaper.
I have to read the newspaper. Well, I don't think I'm going to read the newspaper.
Or the news.
The news. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, there it is. Thank you so much for coming. And